Hi everybody, Jackie here with Dan Barron of Barron Law. How are you doing today?
Doing great, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So today we're talking about basic estate planning. So what is estate planning?
Well, the traditional approach to estate planning, as everyone knows, is who gets your stuff, right? So traditionally everyone thinks, okay, who gets what and how do I appoint an executor or an administrator to administer my estate? But estate planning has really evolved to a lot of different things. You know, we have long-term care now to think about. We have asset protection, probate avoidance. So estate planning is all about, first and foremost, asset protection for you and your children. Absolutely thinking about long-term care. So it's no longer just having a simple will.
Yeah.
Probate avoidance, as I've already mentioned, and efficiency. That's what estate planning is all about.
So what is the bare minimum that people should have?
So at a minimum, a will, a last will and testament, everyone should have that. It is a bare bones minimum, but it at least will name an executor and it will distinguish who gets what in your estate so that someone doesn't get something they're not supposed to.
Absolutely. And that is the bare minimum.
Yeah, absolutely. But you also want to include a HIPAA authorization. So that is the ability for your loved ones to obtain your medical records on your behalf. Also, you want to establish guardianship, not only for your minor children, but you also want to establish guardianship in your plan for you.
Yeah.
As you get older, you may not be able to take care of yourself and you may need to have somebody to make decisions for you. Living will, very different from a will. A living will is not designating who gets what. Instead, that is telling the world that if in the event that you're completely brain dead, for lack of a better term, that you are going to pull the plug for yourself instead of leaving that decision for your loved ones. Which brings me to healthcare power of attorney.
Yeah.
The ability for your loved ones to make healthcare decisions on your behalf. And then finally, durable, synonymous with financial power of attorney, someone to make financial decisions on your behalf.
And those are two different things, two different power of attorneys that you'd have to assign. Really.
Absolutely. So really, you know, when you talk about bare bones minimum, it's not just having a will, it's having this plan. We call it a wills-based plan, but it's by all means, this is the least thing that you should have.
The least that you should have. So what happens if you don't plan?
Well, if you don't plan, that's okay, because you may think that you don't have a plan, but in fact, the state has a plan for you.
Just in case.
Just in case. And there is in Ohio Revised Code, you know, there's a whole list there's a chart of, okay, if this person passes away, then your aunts and your uncles and your brothers and sisters and all these distributions, you know, get handled. And the state comes up with it. But
that might not be ideal because you don't know who those people are, what situation they are. What if, you know, the person who passed away doesn't even talk to the first person on the state's list? It's better that you kind of set something up yourself, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would want to.
And if you don't name an executor in your will, or we might talk about later a trust, that a creditor can actually appoint themselves as an executor of your estate.
Absolutely.
So,
you know, as life goes on, things change. So if I do have a plan in place, because I don't want the state taking care of my affairs, how often do I need to update this plan or review it or get it changed?
That's a great question. We recommend to clients that at a bare minimum that they review their plan once every 3 years. We actually do annual reviews with them anyway, check in with them once a year to say, hey, we met a year ago. But the average person moves 11.7 times in their lifetime. So if you think about it, not just for you and your spouse, but if you've named a backup executor, if you've named a backup trustee or healthcare power of attorney, they're going to move 11.7 times in their lifetime too.
Yeah.
So it's imperative that you keep your plans up to date with addresses and phone numbers. Bare minimum, you know, once every 3 years. Also, if there are major changes in your life. So if you get divorced, if you get remarried, if your kids get married or divorced, those are trigger points for you to change your plan.
Absolutely. So the last question I'm going to ask you, because I've heard about this before, and I think it fits really well here, is what is a family trust? Because that seems like it may be a really idealist piece to have in an estate plan for a lot of people.
Sure. Well, you know, we don't have a crystal ball. And, you know, at a bare minimum, we want to appoint someone to administer our estate and determine who gets what. But what a trust does is it takes it a step further.
Yeah.
Since we don't have that crystal ball, it gives us the opportunity to hold those assets in trust after we've passed and to say, okay, do we want to give an outright distribution, or What if our child is going through a divorce? What if there's a pending lawsuit? What if our children have spending issues? What if our children are special needs? In those circumstances, then a family trust can prevent your estate from being blown.
From being blown and wasted outright.
It also avoids probate. So we talked about a wills-based plan. You're still going to go through probate with a wills-based plan, okay? And a wills-based plan is costly and it's not very efficient. So a trust can handle that. And then finally, in some, a trust allows you to have control.
And it allows you to have that control even after you've passed, which is very important.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you guys don't have a plan in place or you weren't sure about what your estate plan is, you need to get on that ball. You never know what's going to happen and what's right around the corner. So establishing a plan, a will, a trust, possibly a family trust is really important. You guys can learn more at barronlawcleveland.com, and you can even schedule a free consultation directly there to talk to Dan himself or one of his team members to, make sure that you have the right plan for you. Thank you so much for talking to us about this today.
Thank you.